Hello and welcome to another Uniko video with me, Bev, the owner and designer of all things Uniko. This week is Ink and Flip week and it's part 2. We had a previous week back in April where we had a look at all the Ink and Flip stencils that I have released since I launched the first one. I believe it was July 2023 when I did Christmas, the Ink and Flip Christmas Star, which I showed in a video yesterday. The reason for Ink and Flip week 2 is because I have 2 brand new designs that are being released and they will be available on the website on Saturday, and I'll be sharing videos on Thursday and Friday using those new stencils. So today myself and the Uniko brand ambassadors have revisited another of the festive Ink and Flip stencils, and this one is Ink and Flip Snowflake. This is the card that I shared on the website blog today, which shows the stencil when it's been inked once and then flipped, inked again to reveal this beautiful snowflake pattern. So I'm going to demonstrate how this stencil works, how the Ink and Flip works, and I thought I would use some kraft cardstock, which is a little bit different from me. I've used a pale blue here. I don't know if you can tell, it's not quite white, it's a pale blue, and then I've used 2 shades of blue ink to ink it with. So I thought I would have a go at using kraft and some white pigment ink. So I've gone ahead and cut my cardstock, and it measures 10 centimeters by 13.5 centimeters, and I've just made a little mark in the centers just to center it on my work surface here. And again, like I did with my stencil yesterday, I've used a Sharpie just to mark the center. And how I've done that, I've measured from these inner corners and then mark the centers, and it just helps centralize your stencil a bit easier. If you want it centered, you don't have to, but I do like to see this star that's created in the middle in the center, but it is fun to have it offset as well. Anyway, for this card I'm doing it centered, so I'm just going to secure my stencil in place with a bit of low tack tape. It's a little bit tackier than I'd like, so I'm just removing the tackiness just a little bit so it doesn't pull all the paper off my grid work surface here. And I'm just going to secure it in place. So I selected the white pigment ink I've got is the unicorn one from Hero Art. It's one of the best I've found over the years of crafting. And when I'm doing pigment ink like this, I tend to use a sponge dauber to dab the pigment ink onto my card through the stencil. I just find it gets a bit of a better coverage. It takes a little bit longer than if you were to use your blending brushes. So it's just about dabbing the ink, and because this is a pigment ink, obviously you need to let it dry a little bit. It takes a little bit longer to dry. And it is a bit of a slower process, so I won't bore you. I did go ahead and pre-do this layer, but I thought I would just show you a couple of how I dab it on. And I've chosen the pink, the white as the first layer, because it'll provide sort of like a base to then when I apply the second colour, because on this stencil the colours do overlap a little bit more than on some of the other ones. So I just went ahead and did this on all of the sections of the stencil, and I actually went over twice. So once I'd done one round, I went over again just to give a more solid finish. So I went around and did the whole, and I'll show you the one I did earlier because it is a little bit of a longer process, and I can go back to this one. So here's the one that I finished a while ago, and it is just about dry. So I'll just move this out of the way. So like the other Ink and Flip stencils, you just want to clean your stencil in between flipping. So I just use a damp cloth and I just wipe it off. There's no need to have to wash it in a sink unless you're using paste through the stencil, and then I recommend washing them thoroughly in the sink. So depending on which way you use the stencil, which way you have the pattern, here I've got it so the V is at the top, but you could use it so that there is a point of the star at the top. So depending on which way, so if you have your stencil this way, you are going to flip from left side to side. But if you have your stencil this way, how I've used it, you're going to flip from top to bottom. So I've done it this way, and then you're going to flip like this. And what you're lining up with this stencil is the spokes of the snowflake with each other, and then they fit inside this section that hasn't been inked. And it was just purely, sometimes it's the way I've designed. Most of them flip side to side. It was just purely how I was designing it that it came out slightly different this time. So normally I would again use a brush to apply the ink, but I am going to use a dauber again, and I've got Concord and Ninth Pink Lemonade. I'll probably do the first little bit using the dauber just to see how the colour applies, because I don't want to rub off where I have put the white ink. And the pink is going to be a little bit more subtle on the kraft cardstock, but hopefully it'll give a nice effect. I haven't done this one before. I have used pinks on kraft cardstock before. Maybe I should have left my white to dry a little bit more. Maybe I got a little bit overzealous and impatient, I should say the word, waiting for it to dry. To speed up, I could have heat set the pigment ink, but I do find when you heat set it does warp the card a little and then slows it down, because I like to put it inside a heavy book just to flatten it out a little bit. But we'll see how this comes out. And at the end of the day, the process of this video was just to re-show you this snowflake and how it ink and flips. I know a few people have struggled with the concept and a little bit with these stencils once they have received them, but there are a few videos on the YouTube channel here which shows them in action, but it is about I think this one's a little bit more complicated because you're lining up these spokes rather than a central design, if that makes sense. But I love snowflakes. I love snow. I wish we were having snow right now rather than rain. I'd much rather snow any day over the rain. It's been quite a couple of miserable days here in the northeast. But according to the weather, we are due some brighter, drier days the rest of the week. So fingers crossed that happens. So it's a little bit of a slow process, but hopefully the results will be worth it. And then when we're done, I'm going to use a couple of stamps just to add a simple sentiment with this snowflake and a couple of embellishments. This design, I'd say, is a little bit more detailed maybe than some of the other ones. You don't have to do a lot to it to get a really nice effect. I think the snowflake has big impact. The design team, the brand ambassadors today, have I used to call them design team, and then I decided that they were more of a brand ambassador because they're showcasing my brand of products for me. So that's why I switched the name. They have done some fabulous cards today using this stencil, and a couple of them have really wowed me, and I'm going to have to ask how it was done. Steph Kraft on Instagram has combined this stencil with the Scandinavian background block, and just the combination in itself is really clever. But the results she's achieved are just phenomenal, really are. And Izzy's combined it with the Let It Snow stencil, which is another snowflake stencil, and also Big and Bold Snow. There's beautiful rainbow snowflakes, which I love, of course. But yeah, they've absolutely blown me away. I'll be sharing some of their samples on Instagram like I did yesterday. And there we have it. So it's quite subtle. The pink is really quite subtle on this. But when you catch the light with that pigment ink, it just oh, it looks beautiful. But that's just me. I am a bit biased. So that is the result of the inking and then cleaning and then flipping and then inking again. So I'm going to use Snowflake Serenade, and I'm going to use just this little Let It Snow sentiment and these smaller images, and I'm just trying to decide what colours to stamp in. I want them to stand out, but then I don't want them to be too overpowering. So I have got a grey colour of Nocturne ink. Not Nocturne ink, sorry, apologise there. Usually I use VersaFine Clair Nocturne, which is the black. But I don't really want to use black to be too overpowered. I have got Morning Mist in the VersaFine Clair. It's quite a dark grey, but it's not like in your face. But I do like VersaFine for sentiments and details. So I'll try this grey and see how it comes out. Now, like yesterday, I am just going to eyeball where the sentiment goes in the middle, But like I've said before about cards, they're handmade. As much as we want them to be perfect, we also want them to be handmade and sure that they're handmade. I love that we can reproduce a lot of these mass sort of like machine printed and machine made techniques, such as, you know, like the embossing and the foiling and like the letterpress technique. I love that we've got these options now to add to our card making, but I still personally like to give that handmade look, that I don't want them to be ultra perfect and take away that handmade look. And I'm just stamping these snowflakes in the same colour, and then what I'll do when I've finished, I'll choose some enamel dots again, just to bring back a little bit of pink. Hopefully I've got a light shade. I can't remember what colours I have in enamel dots. I know I haven't got all of the Concord and 9th colours yet. And then I'm just going to do one up here to finish it off. And as it's made it slightly smaller, I would add it to a white card base, I think, as well, for this card. So I'll just have a little scooch through to see what pinks I've got. I think I've only got dark shades, and I think I've used most of my white smaller dots as well. I'll just have a look. I've got the medium size. It shouldn't cover up too much of my snowflakes. So you know what I'll be investing in at the weekend when I go to Lincoln. I usually try and do a little bit of shopping before the show opens, or like if it lulls a little bit. I could have used my Nouveau drops as well. That would have been a good idea, but never mind. I might actually take that one off and add a Nouveau drop to that instead, because it is just a tad too big. And I have some white Nouveau drops somewhere here. I have some gloss white, so I will do that in a second. Yeah, so this weekend I am in Lincoln at the Craftorama show at the showground. So if you're close by, it's within easy travel distance for you. Pop along, come and see me and lots of other fantastic craft brands there. I always love doing a show. It's just nice to get from behind the computer screen, the desk, and see people face to face and chat with you all. It took me a long time to get to shows, but now I do them. I absolutely thoroughly enjoy them. I might get a little bit stressed pre-show, making sure that I've got everything and enough stock for you all, but yeah, I do enjoy going to them and seeing everybody. So I look forward to seeing some of you there, hopefully. And I'm slowly getting further afield from where I'm based in the northeast as well, so just shows aren't a cheap investment for a small business. They cost quite a bit, so with travel and expenses, I have to make sure that they are going to be worth my time. So I've just added to a white card base, and I'm just adding a little Nouveau drop. And because it looks quite different, I'm going to take these other couple of enamel dots off and save them for another time and add Nouveau drops. I used to use Nouveau drops all the time, and I've got quite a few colours because you can change the size and they last a little bit longer than just a pack of enamel dots. But what I liked about the enamel dots is they do match the colours of cardstock that I use, that match the colours of ink, so that is why I tend to reach for the enamel dots these days. But I just give a little flick and that'll help dome them out a little bit, make them a little bit smoother. But just ensure if you have got a little bit of a peak, it will settle if you leave your cardstock flat. So they are my 2 cards today. And this is Ink and Flip Snowflake. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and I will be back on sharing another video on Thursday. Brand new Ink and Flip stencil. I hope you will join me then. Thanks so much. See you soon. Bye.